an absolutely tumultuous day in the world of Magic the Gathering. Due to an Amazon error, we have a leak of 18 functionally unique Lord of the Rings cards we haven't seen before. On top of that, we've got a hilarious secret layer scrub, we've got problems with Wilds of Eldraine, and there's been a change to Commander rules. And that's not even everything we're gonna discuss today.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The Magic Historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings! Owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered for an absolutely cram-packed installment of Mega Magic News. I have my notepad. We have a bunch of stuff to cover. So let's dive in. We'll save the absolutely insane Amazon situation for last. We'll start out with the smaller stuff. Actually, let's start out with the funniest thing on the entire list, which is the secret layer screw up. For anybody who remembers the toothbrush fiasco, where Wizards of the Coast was meant to send out full uncut sheets to people, and instead they sent them toothbrushes, this is similar to that. So there was a post put on Reddit, and it's absolutely amazing. Take a look at this picture. Imagine you ordered some secret layer stuff and secret layer angel deck, all that goodness, spent like $450 on your order, and when you open it up, instead of there being magic cards, there was this. Now you might be going, yo, what is this, Office Space? Is that one of them red staplers? Did Milton send this to me? No, what you're actually looking at is notary equipment for one of the American states. So this is like essentially government level gear that they use to make official documents. The fact that this is shipped out the same way that magic cards would be is absolutely wild to me, right? What has happened here is Wizards of the Coast clearly has some other company that's in charge of fulfillment, but they're getting their wires crossed and sending out the wrong gear. But the story has an even sadder twist because the dude who got this box was so riled up about the contents that he accidentally let his wife know that he had spent $450 on magic cards, and that is not a pleasant situation to find yourself in, where it's like, first of all, you hosed me out of my cards, and now my wife knows how much I spend on your cardboard. Like this is peak Wizards of the Coast in 2023. And speaking of peak Wizards of the Coast in 2023, why don't we talk about the Wilds of Eldraine era next? So, I hope you like Commander decks. We know Commander is the most important thing in Magic the Gathering now, right? Well, what if Wizards went, we've got to super focus on Commander, but also we put the wrong tokens into one of the Commander decks. So, the Virtue and Valor, the green-white Commander deck, literally has the black-blue fairy deck tokens in it. Like, I don't know how Wizards makes so many mistakes. They're running at break. I mean, I do know. Clearly, they're spending more time focusing on how much can we milk the secondary market for and how do we get all the money from these chuds we call customers rather than delivering a reasonable product. Let's have a spoiler season where we show the wrong cards. Let's have the wrong things in spoiler decks. In commander decks. Let's send the wrong things out to people. It's endless ridiculousness. Now, last time we spoke, I talked about the secret layer baseball cards, but one thing I didn't include is apparently there are signed versions of it. So you can get each one with the different planeswalkers' signatures across it, although Garuk's might just be like an axe stroke, because I'm not sure if he actually does a signature. It's a small image they had for it, but it's a fun little thing to bring up. Now, let's talk about the Commander rules change update. So, this has to do specifically with Wilds of Eldraine, and that's because Wilds of Eldraine has introduced a new type of commander to Magic, and by that I mean a commander that comes with adventure spells tacked onto it. And this, as we go forward, and I expect Wizards to make more adventure cards like this, will become a bit of a hiccup for people when playing Commander. So, here's how it works, specifically in regard to the commander tax. Before, it was anytime you cast your commander from the command zone, you have to pay 2 more, right? So as you go on, you add one increment to the tax, and you pay 2 mana per taxation. So it's like boom, 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 boom. Well, that's how it works as well with the adventure side of it, but not separately. This is causing confusion for people. So the new Balloona, she's a giant and her name is Balloona. And every time I say it, I think of beluga whale. And I also think of her being like a big swollen balloon, almost like who's that chick who turns blue in the Willy Wonka? Oh, is it Veruca Salt who turns into like a gigantic blueberry? I just picture her ballooning up. But anyways, Balloona is an adventure commander. So on one side you have the adventure spell, on the other side you have your commander. So people are wondering, how does this work? Does the commander attack work separately, where you go boom, if I cast the creature, then I can cast the spell and it doesn't cost more, or is it across the board? Well, the ruling has come down from the Commander Rules Committee. It is across the board. So that means if you cast the adventure side of this and then later you cast the commander side, it costs 2 more mana, but only from the command zone. So for example, if you cast the adventure side of your commander and then it gets removed from the game as part of the adventure's effect, then you get to cast it from exile for its normal casting cost. But if for some crazy reason you decided to put it back into the main zone so you can cast the, not main zone, sorry, command zone, so you can cast the adventure side again, then you have to keep paying an increased cost. So no matter what side of the spell you're using, adventure or creature, you have to pay for every time that card was cast from the command zone, regardless of which side was chosen. This seems to be tripping some people up. So hopefully that makes it a little more concrete in your mind. Now that that's out of the way, let's take a talk. Well, before we take a look, I'm ready to look at the cards already. Let's take a talk, whatever that means, about how we got these spoilers. Amazon decided, yo, I know you guys said November 1st for when we send out these gift boxes, but instead, what if we just sent them out like at the at the end of August? Not even September 1st, just how's like August 28th grab you as a release date? So Amazon sends these out to people. They end up cracking them, and it turns out that the gift boxes that Wizards is doing with the little easel that has the 6 different pieces of card with the artwork, they're also functionally unique Magic cards, which really underneath it all makes these stealth secret layers as far as I'm concerned, right? What is the difference between this and a secret layer other than that you can buy it through normal distribution networks? It has functionally unique cards. They have functionally unique artwork, right? Like these are all unique 100%. This isn't a reskin of something else, and it's also not a reprint of the cards that are in the Lord of the Rings set, which is what I actually thought was going on. It's weird because when you look at these cards, you'll notice they have what looks like a commander symbol on them, and down in the bottom corner, it has the little word code that makes, again, you think that it's a commander card, but these are all just 18 extra Magic cards that have been created specifically for these gift boxes, and they are incredibly powerful. Not every single card, but there are some really, really powerhouse cards in there. So let's go take a look now. Take a look at this. You have to admit the panorama action is gorgeous, and these are all brand new Magic cards. So you got Call Forth the Tempest. We're starting in the upper left-hand corner. 3 red and 5 for a sorcery that has Cascade, Cascade, double Cascade. So you're going to flip over cards from the top of your deck until you find 2 cards that cost less than this. You play them both. And then on top of that, Call Forth the Tempest deals damage to each creature your opponents control equal to the total mana value of other spells you've cast this turn. This is absolutely wild because you resolve the Cascade first. So both of the Cascade spells are going to count for this total. It's just going to slam all your opponent's creatures. Yeah, I mean, it does cost a horrendous amount of mana. So there is that. But this is bonkers, right? After that, we've got Nazgul Battle Mace directly to the right of it. This is a 5-cost artifact equipment. Equipped creature has Menace, Death Touch, Annihilator 1. If you don't know what Annihilator is, it's the old Eldrazi ability. So whenever the creature attacks, your opponent has to sacrifice permanents equal to the Annihilator. So in this case, it's 1. Whenever you attack with this, your opponent has to sack a creature. And whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, put that card onto the battlefield under your control, unless that player pays 3 life. Like, what? They have to sack something every time you swing. And if they choose a non-land, they're going to have to pay 3 life or give you that card. It's so dirty. Beside that, we've got the Witch King Sky Scourge, 1 red, 1 black, and 5 for a 5/5 flyer. Whenever you attack with 1 or more wraiths, exile the top X cards of your library, where X is their total power. You may play those cards this turn. And he's got Undying. When he dies, if he had no +1/+1 counters on him, bring him back with a +1/+1 counter. He comes back bigger. These cards are so busted. Yeah, the mana cost is high on this. But dude, you play all the spells for free. It's so crazy. All right, now we're in the bottom left with Mordor on the March. 1 red, 1 black, and 3. This is a sorcery. Exile a creature card from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it. It gains haste until end of turn. Exile it at the beginning of next end step. When you read that part, you go, really? For 5 mana? That's not that great. And then you go, oh, it's got Storm. What? Oh, so for every spell that's been cast before it in the turn, you just go, oh, I get to cast more of it. Okay. Like, honestly, at 5 mana, it doesn't feel too crazy because you have to get a bunch of Storm going off. So this feels a little less out of control than some of the cards they've made here. Next up, Fell Beast of Mordor. 2 black and 2, 3/3 flying Drake Beast. It's got Devour 1, so you can sack any number of creatures when it comes out, and it comes in with that many +1/+1 counters on it. Look at the legions of dudes in front of it. Why don't you sacrifice all of them to him to make him huge? Anyways, whenever Fell Beast of Mordor enters the battlefield or attacks, target opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is the number of counters on him, and he's only 4 mana. Oh, wow. Just crazy. After that, Minas Morgul, the Dark Fortress. Enters the battlefield tapped. It's a legendary land. Taps for a black, or 1 black and 3 and tap it. Put a shadow counter on target creature. For as long as that creature has a shadow counter on it, it's a wraith in addition to its other types. And this is so crazy to me because it literally instills the shadow ability onto the creature. So a creature with shadow can block or be blocked by only creatures with shadow. Shadow is an ability that only existed in one tiny bit of time in Magic's history. And there were only 3 different peoples that were trapped in the shadow realm. There wasn't that many, just 3 little groups of people. And so this is not an ability you see frequently, but it's pretty wild. For 4 mana, you can make anybody into a shadow. This is absolutely bound for my cube. I want all of these. These look so cool, and the cards look so good together. Now, let's look at the set of 6 we have next, starting out in the upper left-hand corner with our Boreal Alliance. 2 green and X. When it enters the battlefield, create an XX green treefolk creature token. Whenever you attack with 1 or more elves, populate. I mean, for me, this is underwhelming. The power level that we've seen out of all this stuff, yeah, it's cool that you do get to populate whenever you swing with elves, but you make a tree folk, yeah, sure, the Ents are helping out the elves, I get it, but the power scope of a bunch of these cards is so whack that it's hard to go, yeah, that feels good compared to the rest of it. Then we got Galadriel, Light of Insanity. I know the name says Valinor, but this card's nuts. 1 blue, 1 white, 1 green, and 2. 3/3 elf noble with alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. You either add 3 green mana, put a +1/+1 counter on all of your creatures, or scry 2 and draw a card every turn. And this triggers off of tokens and stuff. This doesn't require this is bonkers. This is so strong. What? Okay, next up, we've got Rally the Galadrim. 1 blue, 1 green, and 2. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. But it also has Conspire, so you can tap 2 creatures that share a color with this, so green or blue creatures, and you can make another copy of this spell. So for 4 mana and tapping 2 dudes, you can make 2 copies of any creature you control. That is insane, right? After that, we've got Galadriel's Dismissal, 1 white instant. Target creature phases out, but if you pay the kicker cost of 1 white and 2, you phase out every creature target player controls. That is really, really strong. You can remove all your opponent's creatures if you want to be able to swing through or stop them from swinging down on you, or in response to a board wipe, you can ferry all of your dudes to safety. It is a very potent spell, and the fact that you can target it to one creature for one if you want to as well makes it way more versatile. I do like the pinpoint nature of it. After that, Mists of Lorien. 1 blue and 2, and it's got a replicate of a blue. Return target non-land permanent and each other non-land permanent with the same mana value as that permanent to their owner's hand. This is nutty. So you pick a card that costs 3 in play. Every card in play that costs 3 gets returned to hand. If you pay to replicate it, and the replicated copy of the spell picks a spell that has a permanent that has a different casting cost, do it for that casting cost too. This is going to function very similarly to a Cyclonic Rift, and in some situations, maybe even stronger. This is a nutty card. And speaking of nutty cards, bro, the Galadrim Brigade is bonkers. This is an Elf Lord on steroids. 1 green and 2, 2/2. It's got Squad for a green and 1. Squad is the ability we first saw in the Warhammer decks. And what it does is it's basically a kicker cost that lets you pay it as many times as you want, and you make that many extra copies of this card. So for every 2 mana you pay, you're getting a Grizzly Bear level creature that gives all your other elves +1/+1. This is insane. Absolutely insane. But we've got more insanity. Let's take a look at 6 more cards. Starting out with Andoril, Narsil Reforged. 2 mana cost equipment. It's got Ascend. We haven't seen Ascend since Rivals of Ixalan. Ascend cares if you have 10 or more permanents in play, and then you gain the permanent city's blessing. So, the equipment does this. Whenever a equipped creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. If you have the city's blessing, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control instead. The city's blessing doesn't feel like that big of an increase, but this is nuts. Every time you swing with it, it grows all of your guys, and you can just hand it around from creature to creature. I love the whole panorama concept of showing people wielding the weaponry. That is fantastic. It worked great with the Witch King on the first one. It works well here with Aragorn as well. 1 white, 1 green, 1 red, and 1 for a 4/4 human soldier. Attacking creatures you control have first strike and renown 1. Well, this card is very renowned in Magic circles. Talk about a flashpoint that's worked a ton of people up into tedious, boring conversations on both sides of the fence. I have never, as somebody reports on the Magic news, I've never seen more people worked up about something that I don't care about on either side of the argument as this card in particular. Not this iteration of him, but just what they've done with Aragorn. People can't seem to help themselves. It makes them absolutely rabid to the point where whenever something like this comes up, I genuinely consider, do I want to bother having this in the video? Because I'm going to have to delete a bunch of comments from people being just awful. But here we are. Clearly I'm talking about it, so I jumped right into the pool. Anyways, this card is alright. Whenever a renowned creature you control deals combat damage to a player, double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. But you have to actually connect with it, right? So 4 mana, 4/4, first strike and renown 1. It's okay. You got to connect with it the first time to get the renown, and then swing a second time for the triggering. So this card is better at triggering people in the comments than it is at triggering its own ability as far as I'm concerned. After that, we got Legolas's Quick Reflexes. This is bonkers. 1 green for an instant that's got split second. As long as the spell's on the stack, nobody can do anything. I mean, technically you can flip morphs up, but you can't cast spells or activate non-mana abilities. Now, untap target creature. Until end of turn, it gains hexproof, reach, and whenever this creature becomes tapped, it deals damage equal to its power to up to 1 target creature. This is so versatile. This is so useful. You can use it to protect your guys. There's nothing your opponent can do to stop you. And you can also use this to just beefcake smash as well. It's so good. It's so good for 1 green. Then we've got Gimli's Reckless Might. 1 red and 3. Creatures you control have haste. Formidable. Whenever you attack, if creatures you control have total power 8 or greater, target attacking creature you control fights up to one target creature you don't control. This sucks. Like, as far as I'm concerned, this is the jankiest of all of these cards. It's very underwhelming. 4 mana to give your guys haste, because that's mostly what it's going to do, and you have to swing with 8 power to fight one guy. This is garbo. Like, garbo. The next card, though, Isengard Unleashed, solid. 3 red and 2 sorcery. Damage can't be prevented this turn. If a source you control would deal damage this turn to an opponent or permanent opponent controls, it deals triple that damage instead. Urgh! It feels so good. And it's got flashback of 7. This just feels like crush, smash, destroy, right? And the idea of just unleashing the orcs, that works, right? This totally fits from a flavor perspective. It's great. Now, the last card we have here is insane. It's insane to me. 1 white, 1 red, and 2 gets you Rorim Chargers. A 4/4 white-red crazy that you can exert as it attacks. Why would you ever want to exert it, though? Because if you do, it doesn't get to untap during the next untap step. It must have some insane ability. Oh, yeah. Whenever you cast a creature, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an equipment card. Put that card onto the battlefield for free attached to that creature. Then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Go get any equipment you want for free and just slap it on your creature. What? What? Like, bro, I know that we don't have a lot of exert creatures. That is the one thing that keeps this somewhat in check. But just the fact that this creature can exert and get the equipment all by itself feels incredibly powerful to me. Unlike a bunch of other cards we've seen, this doesn't have to connect with your opponent. All you have to do is choose to activate its exerted ability when you swing with it. And then you just get the equipment. And it doesn't matter how much the equipment costs. It doesn't matter if it has additional cost. It just comes into play for free. And you skip the equip cost. Like, this is insane. Wizards needs to stop ignoring casting costs because they're literally the entire balancing mechanic of Magic. Casting cost and mana cost are the entire balancing cost of Magic. There's a reason I left this card to the end, because I knew it was going to set me off ranting. This is berserk, out of control nonsense. And Wizards are just making secret layers, secret layers, that they're selling as non-secret layers now. But that's all I have to say on this subject. I'll be doing a live stream over on my other channel tonight celebrating the fact that we just hit 7,000 subscribers over there. So we're going to open some stuff and have a wild and fun time. You're welcome to come by and hang out. But if you don't like having fun, then by all means, don't come by. I didn't want you there anyways. You're like notary equipment sent to me by Wizards. This isn't what I wanted. Anyways, thank you to my patrons. You guys rule. I'll see y'all in the next video. And for the people who want to have a good time, I'll see you tonight on my other YouTube channel. Hatcha.